Today we are doing the Attachment Styles 101 Masterclass, and I'm really excited about this one. This is going to be honestly my most value packed and easy to implement free masterclass that I have ever done. So I am really excited that you are here. I will be keeping up with the chat. I like to interact with you guys, so please feel free to talk back to me, to ask questions, give feedback, and all the things because I love for this to be super interactive. Hi, Chrissy. I'm so glad you're here. Hi, hi, hi. Awesome. Okay, so tell me, before we even get started, tell me if, because you've probably been seeing my content, you may have seen other content on attachment styles. Can you tell me if you have felt like you identified more with the anxious vibe, the avoidant vibe, or the toggling between the two, the disorganized? Tell me which one you see in yourself more, or if you just bounce back and forth between the two, which is okay too, because that's me. Depending on the situation, I may go either way. Hi, Clara. I'm so glad you're here. Hi. Love it. We are just getting started, so perfect timing. I just asked everybody to drop in the chat whether or not they feel they lean more into the anxious vibe, the avoidant vibe, or toggling between the two. Oh, yep, same, same, same. Okay, okay, okay. All right, maybe anxious, all the above, absolutely both. Definitely disorganized, disorganized. Okay, yes, a lot. So I have learned a whole lot of this over, especially over the last year and a half. I've dived really deep specifically into attachment styles. um, and I've seen within myself that different situations, different connections, and different phases of connections can send me in different directions. So, depending on the situation, my brain may want to go into more of the anxious response, or it may want to go into more of the avoidant, or sometimes it is both, and I'm sitting there at war with myself. So this is not about trying to put yourself into a box. This is not about needing to be like, I am an anxious attachment person, or I am, whatever. This is about learning what patterns may come up, and how to start rewiring those patterns and not letting those patterns dictate our life and relationships. Okay. And secure attachment starts with ourself. It starts with me, right? It starts with, am I securely attached to who I am first and foremost? And if I am, navigating all the rest of those relationships is going to be not easy, but way easier than it would be. So welcome. I'm so glad that you are here again. If you have any questions come up during the masterclass, please drop them in the chat. I love for this to be super interactive. I want to hear back from you. I love the questions because it helps me know what more I need to add in to my own classes as I teach. So keep them coming. Okay. So I want to talk about first the importance of understanding the attachment styles. And again, this doesn't mean understanding which attachment style each human is. Like, it doesn't have to, we don't have to put a label on ourselves or on anyone else. This is about understanding which pattern is coming up for you, for your friend, for your partner, for your child, for your parent, for your client, and knowing how to help them navigate out of it, knowing how to regulate yourself through it if their stuff is triggering your stuff, which happens a lot, and building healthier relationships based on that knowledge. So, um, understanding your patterns on a deeper level will bring improved, more effective communication, healthier relationships in general, better conflict resolution, improved parenting, Improved professional relationships, like with coworkers, maybe your clients, maybe your employer, and of course emotional regulation, because this is going to help you to notice when to pull your brain back from where it's going. Sometimes we obviously need to trust where it's going and go with it, and then other times we need to be like, nope, that's not based in fact. I'm reacting from an old pattern, and I don't need to act from that place. And we're going to get into all that here. So, if you are a note-taking girly like me, grab your notebook and your pen. We're going to get into, I want to touch on the 4 main attachment styles. And again, remember, this is not about putting yourself in a box. So I don't want you to sit there and like, yes, collect the, yeah, that sounds like me. Yes, I can go in that direction, but I don't want you to start identifying with an attachment style. Okay. So the first one I'm going to talk about is the most elusive, secure attachment. Okay, secure attachment, which if you're here, you may not have ever experienced. So welcome. You're not alone. You are not alone, and it is going to get better. Okay, secure attachment characteristics. This is one of the biggest ones right here. Comfortable with both intimacy and independence. Okay. Because the other attachment styles usually fear one or both of those things, right? So secure attachment is, I am comfortable being intimate. I am also comfortable being independent. Okay. Secure attachment is also able to trust others easily, but not in the gullible, I just go with anything way. You're trusting your intuition. However, when you trust your intuition, you're trusting others easily. Okay, so that comes with the secure attachment. Number 3, communicates emotions effectively. So this is not lashing out. This is having vulnerable conversation instead. This is, instead of covering our hurt with anger, it's having the you hurt me conversation, right? So we're communicating our emotions effectively. Number 4, resilient in the face of relationship challenges. So secure attachment means I'm not going to be sitting around thinking that if a relationship didn't go right, that it means that I am a bad person or an unqualified partner, or that I somehow messed up or am not good enough or am not worthy, right? So resilient in the face of those relationship challenges. It means I'm not gonna, make this mean something about me, and I'm just gonna keep working toward the good, right? I'm gonna work on whatever challenges have just come my way. We're gonna overcome them. Okay. How many of you guys, tell me in the chat, how many of you guys identify with these things? And I'm still going to keep going down this list, but tell me how many of you guys feel like you've already nailed these things. Number 5, positive view of self and others. So this also means that negative self-talk, right? It doesn't mean that the negative self-talk isn't there. It just means that it comes from a place of old conditioning. It's not something to be believed, and you can combat it. So I don't want you to think that being in this more secure attachment means you've arrived and you never have any doubts, but it does mean that you know how to combat that negative self-talk. All right, tell me in the chat if you don't relate to any of those. Tell me in the chat what's coming up for you as I read these. Number 6, seeks support when needed, Miss Hyper Independent. Seeks support when needed. That sucks. I hate seeking support. I hate it. I do it, but I still don't love it. I would still rather be able to do everything on my own. Tell me if that's you. But it is important. It's important. We're pack creatures, right? We're built to have a support system and to be a support system for others. We are built that way. And yet so many of us feel like we shouldn't need that, or we need to learn not to need that. And so secure attachment says I can seek support when I need it. I love to hear that you're getting better at some of them, Margot. Good. Okay, Shayla, relate to some. So good. Good, good, good. And it's okay if you don't. It's totally okay if you don't. I want us to all be just perfectly honest. This is a private group. We can be perfectly honest with one another and share some things. I'm not saying y'all aren't, but if you are, if you're getting triggered by this list and being like, who the fuck actually experiences those things, you can say that in the chat as well. Let's see, Angela said, I have a lot of trouble relating to most of the secure attachment qualities naturally. Absolutely. And you are not alone. You are not alone, and you're in the right place for sure. The last one on the list is able to regulate emotions well. Most of us were not taught how to do this. Raise your hand in the chat if you were raised by someone who tended to be a little bit explosive or a lot of it. Tell me. Because when they don't know how to regulate, they certainly don't know how to teach us how to regulate. Let's see. I'm used to doing it all alone, but I do reach out when I need it. Deanna, I'm glad to hear that. I know it's not easy. I know it's not easy, but I am glad to hear that. It's so important. We are pack creatures. We are supposed to have a support system. It's how we are built to function. All right. Moving on to anxious attachment. And again, like I said, we're not trying to put ourselves in boxes, but please let me know in the chat. Claire said a little bit, right? Or a lot of it. Yeah, girl. Yeah, I had one explosive parent and one parent who shuts down. Oof, yes. I had one explosive parent and then one he's a little explosive but in a really contained way. She was explosive and would shut down and do like the whole silent treatment thing. So you are absolutely not alone. And it causes extreme, like lifelong, if we don't address it, lifelong attachment issues. So it is not your fault that you built these patterns, and it is your responsibility to do the work to heal them, and it's a gift to yourself, to be honest, to do this work and to heal these attachment styles and to truly be able to build both intimacy and independence in healthy ways. Such a game changer. Let's see, Margot said, I also had an explosive parent and a numbed out parent, girl. Yeah. And like, look at the company we're in here. Like so many of us have experienced this, and it is a normal brain thing to go into insecure attachment when we're dealing with that. It is a totally normal brain thing to go into that. All right, we're going to go into the anxious attachment characteristics next. Tell me in the chat which ones of these, and you can drop the number. I'll list the numbers so you can tell me which ones you relate to. Anxious attachment characteristics: strong desire for closeness and intimacy. I want to be loved. I want to be loved. I need to be loved. And that's number one. Strong desire for closeness and intimacy. Number two, fear of abandonment or rejection. Extreme fear of abandonment or rejection. That's number two. You can go ahead and drop the numbers as I say them if you have identified with this in your life. Number three, hypervigilant to signs of distancing in relationships. So this means when I say hypervigilant to signs of distancing, this may be they are not talking as much. It may be they haven't they haven't answered your text in a couple hours. It honestly could be really that they're like super busy and they just haven't reached out, but it feels like a sign of distancing in the relationship. And so you become hypervigilant, like, oh no, something is wrong. Okay. Let's see. Yep. Number one, number three, number 1, 2, and 3. Okay. Yes. And y'all are not alone. Y'all are not alone. In my romantic relationships, I have toggled definitely in and out of the anxious attachment stuff. You guys are not alone. Let's see. Ashley said 2 and 3. 3 for sure. Yes. Okay. Number 4, tendency to seek constant reassurance. So I constantly need to be reassured that I am loved, that I'm good enough, that everything is okay, that they're not mad at me. Yeah. So number 4, tendency to seek constant reassurance. Number 5, may appear clingy or overly dependent. So if you've ever been called clingy, like me, that's us. Little clingy. I felt like if we weren't together, that I wasn't a whole human in the past. Woo! Yeah. Let's see. What was that? 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. Number 6, difficulty trusting partners. And I think this comes in on all the insecure attachments. Um, yeah. Okay. So Angela, you identify with number 4 as well. Yeah. That is a tough one. And we'll talk more about it because the need for reassurance is not a problem. It's how we go about it, and also maybe the level of need. And so we'll definitely get into that as well. Let's see. Number 6. Wait. Hold on, because I don't have these numbered. Hold on. Just have a bullet pointed. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. Yeah, 6 was difficulty trusting partners. 7 is prone to emotional highs and lows in relationships. So anxious attachment tends to be like really intense. Like I love you in the first 3 days. And that level of high though that they experience also boof can just go right into that same level of high, but at the low, right? So the higher, the lower, right? And so that is a lot of what happens with the anxious. Okay. Yeah. Angela and Clara, number 7. Yeah. Okay. And y'all are not alone. You're in the right place. Cause I certainly understand it. I have lived this in the fucking trenches, y'all. So, okay, so let's go on to the avoidant characteristics and see how many of these you identify with as well, because different situations bring out different patterns in us, especially when we had parents that toggled, or 2 different types of attachment parents. So avoidant attachment, okay? Number 1, values independence and self-reliance. Is that you? Values independence and self-reliance. Number 2, uncomfortable with emotional intimacy. And sometimes I've been really, really comfortable with emotional intimacy. And then other times if I'm vulnerable, will get really like closed off and almost angry that I had been vulnerable, and like shut it down immediately. Like, oh my God, I can't believe I just said that. I need to go back to like dead eyes. Yeah, absolutely, girl. Because it is totally a normal brain response. It is a normal brain response in the face of that kind of trauma. I mean, let's call it what it is. I know that's like a buzzword now, and everybody wants to blame trauma for everything, but that's literally what it is. It builds our brain, and like we're building our brain through that shit. And what helped us cope back then and kept us safe can end up just totally tearing apart our relationships in our adulthood. Okay, yep, 2, and definitely me. All right, let's see. Number 3, tends to minimize or dismiss emotional needs. So who here hates having emotional needs and wants to shut them down? I wish I didn't need to be loved on. I wish I didn't need a hug. I wish I didn't need to talk to somebody about this and just could deal with it myself. Just completely, nope, I shouldn't need that. How many of you have said I shouldn't need that? Yeah, Angela, you're not alone. Yeah. Yeah. Yep. Okay. Number 4, difficulty trusting and opening up to others. Again, like I said, I think this one really fits into all the insecure ones. Number 5, may seem emotionally distant or detached. This is the Ice Queen vibe. And again, a lot of us we don't spend our whole life, we don't stay in this, but we can toggle into it. All right, number 6, struggles to commit in relationships. Okay, yep, check. Let's see. Especially when I had postpartum depression. What was number three? Tends to minimize. Oh, yes. Okay, so dismissing your emotional needs as you were in postpartum depression. Holy shit, Ashley. That is, thank you for saying that. And I'm sure you're not the only one here. If anyone else has experienced postpartum and so many women as they become mothers get even deeper into the dismissal of their own needs. So thank you so much for sharing that. Oh yeah, and Shayla, absolutely, absolutely, my pleasure. And number six, again, was struggles to commit in relationships. So if you've ever been accused of having commitment issues, this is an avoidant thing. That's the avoidant thing, and that has absolutely been me as well. I have absolutely had commitment issues in the past. And then at other times would go right into this clingy psycho mess. Where I'm like, I need to be loved, I need to be loved. And then it's like, get the fuck away from me, I will hurt you. Okay, and then number seven often prioritizes personal freedom over closeness. So, maybe you are getting close with someone, but you have experienced in the past a relationship where you completely lost yourself in it. Like you didn't know who you were outside of the relationship. And so as you experience new closeness, you tend to be like, no, because you might infringe on my fucking freedom again, like the last asshole. Right? Like that other guy, that other person who really fucked it up. Okay, all right. And now we're going to move into the disorganized attachment characteristics, which I believe most people fit into because that is the like going back and forth between the two. Is so disorganized characteristics. Number one, inconsistent behavior in the relationships. So this is where you're like, he's giving me mixed signals because some days it feels like there's a lot of love, and then other days, I don't know if he even likes me at all. That might be me in an ex relationship, and absolutely, and it's valid, Clara. It's valid to have that fear, and I am going to help with the steps we can take to build that intimacy, even with that fear riding shotgun. Okay, number two, emotions. So the disorganized is, it's going to be the highs and lows. That is, this is a battle in your brain. Disorganized attachment is a battle in your brain between the anxious and the avoidant. And that has been me my whole life because, and raise your hand if this is you, I'm an overthinker. I've always wanted to intellectualize everything. And if I can understand things, I can prevent them. Right. So if I think it through enough, I'll know how to behave in ways that will work out the best. And so depending on how much I've overthought and what conclusion I come to, I might lean into anxious or I might lean into avoidant, depending on which one I think will get me the most. Or protect me the most, depending on the situation. Ooh, Margot said, I feel like I'm an avoidant at first, and then once I get attached, I'm anxious all the way. Dude, ooh, yes, that's a good point, because I bet so many people have that pattern. Like, I've absolutely seen that pattern of, and then once you're in, it's like, oh, don't leave, don't leave, don't leave. Who else has experienced that? Thank you for sharing that, Margot. Claire said, yup. Yeah. Yes. All right. Number three may simultaneously fear intimacy and abandonment. We want to be loved, but we're scared that being loved means we're going to get hurt and we're going to be abandoned. They're going to see us for who we truly are and they're going to fucking hate us for it, right? They're going to be turned off and never want to have sex with us again or whatever it is, right? Like terrified of not having the intimacy and terrified of having the intimacy and what that will bring. Okay. Who relates to that? Because that's a fucking doozy. Me, yup, yes, yep. Not alone. You are not alone. Okay. Number four, unpredictable responses to emotional situations. And this is, again, if you've got that parent who was hot and cold, right? um, that your responses to emotional situations, you may get triggered back to wanting to be really, really nurturing, or you may get triggered into completely shutting down. Maybe you're triggered into, I need to be the savior in this situation, or maybe you're triggered into, not my fucking problem and I'm out of here, I'm running for the hills. But because of the back and forth in what happened to us, honestly, as children, um, we're going to build that back and forth as far as how our brain wants to respond to a situation. Okay. Number five, it often stems from trauma or abuse. If you toggle back and forth between the two, it often is rooted in the toggling of a parent with the hot and cold, the push pull, the love bombing, and then the lashing out. Okay. Let's see. Number six, struggles with trust and forming stable relationships. And then number seven may display both, they're displaying both anxious and avoidant behaviors, essentially. And you don't know which one they're going to go into. Don't know. Because again, they're an overthinker and their own, it just depends on which devil on their shoulder wins that day. Yes, I can toggle between fix it and I want no part of this. And I'm sure you're not the only one here. I'm sure you're not. Because I've absolutely been there myself. Toggle between I need to fix this and I want no part of this. Absolutely. Absolutely. Okay, so of course there are many things that affect our attachment styles. And I'm just going to hit on those very, very briefly because what is most important is how to change it now. But early childhood experiences, like I said, a parent or guardian who did not know how to regulate, who would toggle back and forth between hot and cold, even different parenting styles. So if you had a parent that was, really like legalitarian, like it's everything is black and white, right and wrong, and, really, really, punishing parent. If they parented with fear as their main source of how to get you to do things. Um, yeah, yeah. Let me know in the comments if you felt any of those. And then, of course, cultural influences. I think most of you that are here live in America. And so we all kind of deal with, a lot of, the same cultural influences as far as what we saw on television growing up, the books that, all the things. But as far as our influences, so, as an example, movies that little girls are supposed to, that, we're that are out for us, right? Like Beauty and the Beast. It's this she's with an abusive guy that she's like, I can save him. Like, and most all movies that we were given were like, you must find a man, and that's the happiest you can be is when you find your man. And so otherwise, if you're not, then you're nothing and something's wrong with you and all the things, right? So then that leads to more of the anxious or the avoidant because we're like, something's wrong with me. So all these things have influences on how we attach. Okay. Let's see. Attachment styles in adult relationships. So I want to talk about how it manifests. Yeah, so how it's going to manifest. So the impact on romantic relationships. So the secure pairing is what we really want. That's what we want to work toward. That's generally stable and satisfying. There's open communication. There's healthy boundaries, mutual support. There's a healthy balance of intimacy and independence. And then if we have the anxious avoidant pairing, so this is one anxious partner, one avoidant partner, this is often very tumultuous. And again, maybe in this situation, the anxious person, sometimes in other situations they're avoidant, but in this specific pairing with this avoidant person, they go into their anxious patterns, right? So this is going to be tumultuous. It's a chase and distance dynamic. That push pull where the avoidant like pulls back and the anxious pushes in, like, please, like, just stay with me. And that's where, again, those like the mixed signals are coming in. The anxious partner may feel neglected. And then the avoidant partner feels overwhelmed, like, oh my God, they need me constantly. They constantly need reassurance. If I haven't texted back or if I take a nap, they think the relationship is over or are mad at them, right? So they feel overwhelmed. But there is a potential for personal growth. Like, there is a potential for growth in the relationship, for building a healthy connection in the relationship, if both partners are aware and willing to work on the issues. But it has to be both. It has to be both. Okay, and then the anxious or avoidant so if you've got a relationship with two anxious people or two avoidant people, can absolutely amplify their insecurities or reinforce emotional distance. They may struggle with meeting each other's needs because the anxious are both they're both very, very focused on their needs, but also like give, so I can be this perfect partner. And the avoidant is like, ooh. The two avoidants, I feel like they're just never going to hang out because they're just avoiding each other altogether. They just don't ever end up setting a second date. Because they both avoided picking up the phone. Girl, yes, I loved Beauty and the Beast growing up. I loved all those movies, but it absolutely made me think that the main goal for a woman was to find a life partner, and if she had not, that, I don't know, that she was living a sad story. She's going to become the witch in Snow White. I don't know. I don't know. Okay. And then relationships involving disorganized attachment, really challenging, unpredictable behaviors on both sides. And this is something where it likely is going to require like professional support for you to work through and actually be able to communicate through that. Yeah, and we're going to talk about how to move through those in a bit. Let me see if there was something I missed. Okay. No. All right. So, also impact on friendships and work relationships, because this does not just have an effect on romantic relationships. This insecure attachment style has massive effect on our relationship with ourself, as well as literally everyone and everything that we interact with. It can literally have an effect on your relationship with your pets. Um, like, that's just how deep these patterns are. Impact on friendships and work relationships. So if you ever had a friendship where you were like, she's not hanging out with me enough, or I feel like she didn't answer my call when I was upset. And then maybe you lash out, or you just assume that she no longer wants to be your friend, and so you just ghost her. Stuff like that. So it can have a major relationship on friendships as well. Let's see. So yeah, so the anxious side of things is going to fear the abandonment in the friendships, and the avoidant has difficulty forming those close relationships because they are overwhelmed. Let's see, slides we can have a copy of for visual support. Ooh, I don't, but that is a great idea. I've done that before, but I did not do that for this. But I can absolutely send you my notes. And I was hoping to have a transcript, but I'm not sure because I wasn't able to record through Zoom. So, but yeah, I will definitely send you my notes, Angela. And I also have more stuff for you, in store after as well. Let's see here. Yeah, so the disorganized attachment in friendships is really going to it's just creating that unstable, it's inconsistency, right? The disorganized is going to lead to a lot of inconsistency in friendships, and that inconsistency can absolutely kill, friendships. Oh, thank you so much, Angela. And girl, I'm a visual person too. So I absolutely will start implementing more of that because I'm both like I love to see what I'm hearing, but I watch stuff with captions. And I've always been the note taker and wanted to like look at things. So I'm with you and I will work on that. Thank you for saying that. Let's see. Okay, so work relationships. This is gonna, so if you've got anxious and avoidance shit coming up, in your work relationships, this is gonna have like impact on like teams in a like a corporate kind of environment and like a um right on the captions, right, same girl. Yeah, so the this influences, like I said, team dynamics. There may be, and like your anxious and avoidant stuff can come out with a boss. I've absolutely had my attachment style stuff come out in a 9 to 5. um you may be constantly, so the anxious tends to like overdo it in the workplace and need to be everything to everyone so that they are loved and not abandoned. And then the avoidant tendency is that I don't want to do teamwork, I am overwhelmed, I'm shutting down, um I'm numbing myself all day at work. Right? Let me know if any of these you've related to in the past because I've absolutely had my anxious and avoidant stuff come up in 9 to 5 work for sure. Even in running a business, right? It's going to come up. Maybe especially in running a business, it's going to come up. If you are an entrepreneur and you've got clients you're trying to sell, you're absolutely going to have your attachment stuff come up. If they are not responding to your nudge, right? Like you, maybe you sent the DM and you sent them the link to your website to make a sale, to register for a thing, right? And they didn't do it. If your brain goes into, I've bothered them, they don't want anything to do with me, maybe they don't like me, they don't like my stuff, right? That's that anxious shit's coming in. And then if you take action from that place, you're probably going to bring way worse results than if you sat there and really, and we're gonna, like I said, we're gonna work on at the very end here. We're gonna talk about exactly what to do to change this. But if you have, like I said, they're not responding to you, and then all of a sudden that anxious or avoidant stuff. So maybe it comes up, and you're like, nope. If they don't like me, then I'm never gonna message them again, right? So the anxious stuff is coming up, but then you go into avoidance. I'm not gonna worry. I'm not gonna bother them ever again. Let's see, give another example of avoidant in a work setting. Let's see, completely avoiding difficult conversations that need to be had, not expressing a need that you have at work. Yeah, not wanting to network is an avoidance. Yeah, yeah. It can come up in a lot of ways in the work environment. For me, it mainly came up in avoiding those conversations, avoiding the necessary conversations that really did need to be had. Okay. Let's see. Strategy. Okay, so let's talk. Here's the juicy part. Here's the part you've all been waiting for, is how to fucking change it. How to not continue down the same pathway. Yeah, fear of being fired if I express a need. Dude, yes. Yes, yes, yes. Such a good example. Thank you, Shayla. Yeah, absolutely. Absolutely. And then it's that, okay, I'm not allowed to have needs. I gotta bottle them and pretend like they don't exist. I shouldn't need that anyway. Mm-mm-mm. Okay, so here is this is what you've been waiting for right here. Okay, strategies for improving the relationships based on the attachment stuff. All right, so number one, it's what you're doing right here is a self-reflection and identification of one's own attachment patterns. And I made a point to not say attachment style here because, again, we toggle, right? We're humans, we're complex, we don't go in a box. Period. We don't fit in one. So this is about just identifying what patterns you go into and when, what triggers your different patterns. And maybe it's an inconsistent response, and that's okay. We don't have to have exact patterns, exact maps in order to be able to change the outcomes of things. Okay. So self-reflection and identification of your own patterns, just so you can start seeing, oh, hey, that shit has come up. Like, ooh, my brain is saying this, right? But maybe that's not true, and I'm going to worst case scenario. And maybe I'm thinking, what I'm thinking here and the actions I take are actually going to lead to the worst case scenario, because I'm taking action from a place that believes I'm going to get the worst case scenario. Okay. Number 2, nurture your self-worth and your self-trust. These are huge for building that secure attachment, is working on your self-worth and your self-trust. And I'm also going to have more on this for you guys as well. Self-worth and self-trust are two of the biggest things when it comes to functioning in this world of chaos as a complex human dealing with other complex humans, is building, I am worthy and I can trust myself to handle whatever comes my way. So building the self-worth and the self-trust. And again, I'm going to have more resources for you on that as well at the end. Okay, now for the avoidant tendencies, and again, I'm not saying for the avoidant attachment people. I mean for when you toggle into that tendency, no matter where you feel like you fall in this. For avoidant tendencies, taking baby steps into deeper intimacy. Baby stepping into it. Let me see. Let's see. Clara said, yes, I love nurturing. I wish I did it more. Yeah. Yeah, girl. Yeah. So that maybe that's something we can work on, is upping that a little bit, doing that a little bit more. But taking baby steps into deeper intimacy, not shocking your system and forcing yourself into something that's going to send you backwards because it, like really, really dysregulated you and wasn't a good time, right? Like baby steps into allowing more intimacy in. Let's see, the phrasing there was kind of funny to me because my last name was going to be Worthy next year. Oh, that's funny. Okay, girl. Right. Need to work on. Maybe that's a sign. Maybe that's a sign. You are worthy. You are worthy. We just got to work on you believing it. Let's see. Let's see. Yeah, for the avoidant tendencies. So we're on the second one of that, is creating a ritual to help you out of freeze. So whenever you are in the I'm shutting down, creating, and this is going to be something that is specific to each person because everybody's different. What's going to work for your brain to get out of that funk might not work for somebody else's, and vice versa, right? And it may be on a case-by-case basis. Sometimes I need to open the curtains and let some sunlight in and put on some good music. Sometimes I need a comfort show. Sometimes I need to go for a drive with the windows down. Just depending on sometimes I need to call my best girl and be like, girl, help me. Kick my ass. Me and my best friend, we have I know it doesn't matter, inside thing, but it's always 1, 2, 3, 4. At the end, when you hit 4, you get your ass up, right? Like whatever it is, develop different rituals for yourself on helping yourself get out of that freeze. And then lastly for the avoidant tendencies, when you feel like running, so in the moment when you're like, fuck, like all of the alarms are going off and it's like, I have to ditch this. I'm about to ghost. Like I can't do this anymore. And it's like a knee jerk. Like I didn't feel like this earlier, but now all of a sudden I'm here and I need to run. Do not make a decision from that place. Sit with the feeling and feel it. It's okay to feel it. It's okay to pick it apart and understand why you're feeling that way. But what's most important is that you allow that heightened state to pass before you start taking action and making decisions. And that's one of the biggest things here is the pause. Sometimes the pause is 24 hours. Sometimes it's 10 minutes. Sometimes it's a week. But whatever it is, pause. And do not take action from that place. Regulate. Your one job when you are that dysregulated is to regulate yourself. Our brain wants to figure it out in that moment when it's charged, like, oh, I feel overwhelmed, or I feel rejected in some way. We want to immediately come up with an action plan and take action so we can get out of that feeling. But when we take action from that place, we create bad results for ourselves. And we act out of integrity with who we want to be. And so if we pause, we allow that feeling of I need to run to it's okay that we feel it. I'm going to sit with it. I will feel it. And I'm going to let it pass and not take action from that place. And once I'm regulated, then I can make decisions and I can take action. Okay. For the anxious tendencies, taking baby steps into independence and enjoying your own company. So if you're someone who's struggled with being alone, take yourself out to dinner. Take yourself on a date, or make it, it doesn't have to be, you don't have to spend money, do it at home, right? Where you, clean your house up just for you, like prepare your home like you're waiting for an incredible guest, like a really important guest, and you are the guest, right? Like treat yourself how you'd want to be treated and learn to enjoy your own company. If you don't know how to laugh while you're alone yet, I recommend working on that. I used to not laugh unless I was with other people. And it's not that way anymore. Yeah, the pause is everything. Yeah. Yes, we want to find a solution, but the solution is to regulate. That's it, Angela. That's it. We want to find a solution right then. I need one now, and then I will calm down if I have a solution. No, you will think way more clearly. You'll find a better solution. You'll take better actions. You'll be a better human if you wait until the stress cocktail in your system has subsided. Okay. Let's see. And then number 2 for the anxious tendencies is regulate again before you take action. Same thing. Regulate before you take that action. So when you feel like blowing up their phone or lashing out, sit with the feeling. Do not take action. And then ask yourself, how would I handle this situation if I truly believed everything was going to be fine? And act from that place. So if you say someone hasn't responded to your text or your DM, and instead of oh my God, they're rejecting me, they don't like me, they're mad at me. No, what if, number 1, I'm going to regulate. We're going to pause. And then when I come back to it, if I believed that absolutely nothing was wrong and they just simply got busy, what would I say next? And then act from that place. Because even if you're wrong and they were upset with you, which they probably aren't, it's fucking busy out here. We got a lot on our plates. We got a lot to think of, and we're ADHD, and we've got constant input all the time. People are busy. They are way more likely to be busy than HOS. Way more likely. Yes, it's nearly impossible to think rationally after the emotional brain has taken over. We have to move it through. Yes. Got to regulate, and then take the action. It's okay that feeling is there. Don't judge yourself for feeling it. And I'm not going to act from it. Not doing it. I love y'all's comments. Thank you so much. I'm absolutely loving it. The pause is hard, Tiara said. Yes, it is. Fuck. Because all we want to do in that moment is fix it. Fix it. Whether that means running away or getting them to hurry up and respond. What if they don't respond in like a week? Have you sent multiple messages, or has it just been sitting there for a week? Because if I don't go back and mark something as unread, I will absolutely forget something for a week. Because I've just got that much shit. going through my head. Like a week is too long, and and it really could be that they're just busy and ADHD as fuck. Now, if we're talking like a romantic partnership and y'all are like in a relationship and they haven't reached out in a week, then that's a different scenario. And like this is a case by case thing. But if we're talking like a client, a potential client or a friend, girl, I would, if I don't, again, if I don't mark it as unread, yeah, walking helps me calm down, but even then I might still be upset. Yeah. And that's okay. It's totally okay that the upset comes, that and it's valid, right? Like you do deserve the communication, and we could absolutely still be assuming the worst when it's really not. Way more often in my life, worst case scenarios have blindsided me. And I've thought worst case scenarios were coming way more often than they were. Like I thought, oh my God, like how many times in my life have I been like, oh my God, worst case scenario is going to happen. And then it didn't. But then the actual worst case scenarios, you know, even though they're so few and far between, they blindside me. So I really didn't call them anyway. So sitting around thinking worst case scenario has never really helped. Never. Let's see. Angela said, I have ADHD and do this with friends, but yeah, romantic relationship feels different. Sounds like it's important to define the relationship expectations. Definitely. And that's why the open communication and the expressing of our emotional needs, which is something we fear, earlier we talked about, is what's really important, and staying in communication, because maybe the expectations change over time. Maybe in the beginning you need more reassurance than you do 5 years in, right? Check-ins with one another and just keeping that line of communication on, like, hey, today I feel like I really need this, or whatever it is. But it's having that communication, and having a partner that is, let's see, Deanna said always worst case scenario. Yeah, girl, you're not alone. You're not alone. You are definitely in good company. Let's see, what happens when somebody ghosts you but come back to apologize? You respond, but it's been a couple days and they haven't responded back yet. Now, when they said, okay, they apologized. How did they apologize? Did they say, sorry, I did ghost you and I was panicking? Or like, sorry, I was busy? What was the apology? Can you share that with me? And then next on the list, and this is for all styles, for all tendencies, open communications, just like we just talked. Open communication about needs and fears with partners, close friends, family members. Open communication about your needs and your fears. And it's vulnerable to share both of those things. Sorry, I just started bouncing my knee and it started bouncing my camera. But it is so it's vulnerable. It's scary to share our needs and our fears, especially when we have not been taught how to do it. We haven't been in relationships where that was okay, or maybe we were in relationships that the more we communicated that we needed, the less we got. That's okay, Clara. Thank you so much for coming. We're about to wrap anyway, and yes, you'll definitely get the replay. Oh, they said sorry for ghosting you. Okay. Can you also share, Shayla, whether this was like a client or a friend or potential romantic partner? That might help me as well. And did they say why they ghosted? Or did they just say sorry for ghosting? Okay, and then so practicing of the secure behaviors, which is the clear communication, the emotional regulation, and setting healthy boundaries. You also, another huge part of this is patience and understanding when dealing with the other person's anxiety or avoidance. Okay, Shayla said that was a friend that said that. Did they say why they ghosted? And yeah, so, and that's something that, like, if it's a friend, I can honestly tell you that one of my best friends in the whole world, I have 4 besties. Okay, I have 4 besties. And of these 4 women, one of them, I literally will miss her call and not call her back for a week, and vice versa. I'll call her, she don't answer, she don't call me back. Nobody calls each other for 2 weeks. I don't hear from her. And it just happens. And that's one of my best girls. And we've just started just really, we just understand that it happens with one another. Um, and now, if Erica didn't call me back for 2 weeks, I would think she was dead. Um, let's see. They was going through hard times. Yeah. Okay. So look, that's good. That's good communication. Then that they were able to say, "I'm sorry for ghosting," and I was going through some shit. So I would say, yeah, give them some space. They're going through it right now. They're overwhelmed. And you may want to offer, like, as far as how you want to respond, you may want to say something that really takes the pressure off of them, like, there's absolutely no rush. I totally understand, what you're, going through, all the having all the stress on you and going through all the things. I totally understand. Um, and when you're ready, when you have the capacity, I would really love to get on a call with you or go get coffee with you or whatever it is that you're wanting to do. Yeah. And just taking that pressure off. I've noticed that when somebody's in avoidance and you take the pressure off, it really helps them to stop avoiding. So as soon as you reassure them that it's totally okay that they're avoiding you, it's like they come back. So, um, yeah, life gets busy. Yeah. Yeah, and just starting to notice when your brain is assuming that they're mad at you and be like, that might not be the truth at all. In fact, it's way more likely that they've got other shit going on in their life. Way more likely. Okay. Patience and understanding. And then lastly, seeking support, because this is deep work, and doing this work with support creates much better, quicker progress. Because this is deep work and it is messy because relationships are complex. Um, and but people are complex, right? Our tendencies are complex. Everybody's stuff triggers everybody's stuff, right? So, having that support and having, I don't know, other brains to bounce thoughts off of is critical. And I'm actually going to drop a link in the chat right now, because if you are interested in support, I have really big news for you. I am launching the Secure Attachment Blueprint course.